Malus Evereste, which is crabapple. This one we're growing as a standard now, I've decided. I was going to do it as a multi-stem, but I have now decided I'm doing it as a standard. So I just want to secure that stem back to the cane. I'm just putting in a rubber band round it. And I'm just going to tie that off in a figure of 8 just to secure that back. Malus Evereste is a small growing crabapple tree. This is on a semi-dwarfing stock, so this will grow to about 16 foot after about 20 years, maybe 24 foot after about 25 years. But again, you can keep it trimmed and contained throughout the year. Basically, the best time of trimming really is to do it over the winter. I have just taken off the bough that was coming from the base just to strengthen it up, but hard pruning and major works would do over the winter when the leaves have dropped completely. So that'll be any time really from December through to the end of February. So Malus Evereste, shell pink, almost red when it's in flower bud, opening to 40-50 mil white flowers in the spring. Then as the flowers finish, they develop these lovely crabs in a multitude of colours which hold really well. The birds have already started eating these, so they might not last so long up here because we're very, very lucky to have so many birds around. But it is a fantastic small garden tree and looks stunning. And what's actually quite nice is just at the top of the leaf there, you can still see a ladybird, which will be eating any aphids. One of the questions I was asked the other week was about plants for shade. Just while we're coming past here, dappled shade that doesn't get too wet, so it still wants moisture but not too dry. This is Japanese forest grass, which is absolutely stunning, drooping grass, low growing, forms a thicket. Again, only about 12 or 18 inches high, but it will spread over time. In the winter, as it gets colder, it will take on this straw-like finish, so the leaves will turn to straw. The growth will actually die down below. Then in the spring, what we'll do, probably towards the end of February, March time, we'll come and cut it back right down hard, and then all this new growth will come back again next year. But that's a really good one for dappled shade that doesn't get too wet. That's Japanese forest grass, or golden Japanese forest grass. So our pond basically collects all the excess water that then runs down the hill and runs down the site and takes any excess runoff that doesn't go into the storage tanks in the barn. Reasons to have a pond in your garden would be to encourage wildlife, both for the birds but also for frogs. If you can encourage frogs into your garden, then frogs are a great natural way of controlling slugs and snails. We also get visited by dragonflies occasionally in the summer as well, which we'll come back to that later in the season. If you have lavender in your garden, this should have already been done, but it always, ideally, these we did back in August, but lavender, because the flowers go on, people quite often leave them. So if you've still got lavender in flower in your garden, then please get in and get it cut back now. Always want to make sure that you leave about 1 inch of this year's fresh growth, but all of the growth needs to be cut back quite hard so it doesn't then turn woody, and then that's when you end up with a really empty space and a very tired looking plant next year. So it's vital that you get these cut back. If they're still in flower in your garden, they might still be looking great now, but to persevere with them and get them to come back and last a few more years, always cut them back, but always leave about 1 inch of new shoot. So you want to leave this to harden off for the winter, but you do want to get the bulk of it down. So it's quite important to get those done, otherwise it will become very, very woody and hard at the base. If you have got, so for example, there's an older stem there that we can see that with no new growth on it. So I've missed that earlier. So I am actually just going to take off just those dead tips. So when you're looking at the stems and you're cutting them back, you can see this shoot that's already been cut back is now reshot. So we've got growth there that then will produce flowering growth for next year. The key with lavender really is to cut them back if you can by the end of August, ideally. Sometimes they're still in full flower, but always try and get them cut back as soon as you can. If it's still in flower in your garden, then I would definitely still get in and do it now before it gets too cold, but you always want to make sure that you leave a good inch of this year's soft foliage there to protect it. Don't cut back into old wood, because that's when it doesn't tend to reshoot, and then that'll be a nice plant then for next year. What we're looking at here is a small section of sedum. We use sedum in several garden and design areas, and we've used it recently in 2 gardens that we've built. During the summer and through into early autumn, this will be full of flowers, which is really good for pollinating insects and bees. It is a succulent, and it does stay with some colour all winter. As we go through the winter, this will then turn to a deep reddy colour, but it does need a free draining spot. Okay, if you come with me now, we're just going to go and have a look at some of the tree lines and some of the trees we've been shaping up over the last few years. Okay, so this is the first tree compound that we built when we first found the site. So it's fairly enclosed, but we use this as quite a nice growing nursery area for growing on trees, and we're then moving them from here into the following field for growing on for larger sizes. So if you want to come down, this beech is one that I've been working on probably for about 6 years now. So this is one that we've been gradually forming these clouds or spheres. It's pretty much a free-form shape, but it was a tree that I decided I was going to do a bit of shaping on, and then I've been tinkering with it gradually over the last few years. But it just provides quite a nice bit of structure, and it's a nice something that's a bit different in the centerpiece. Basically, to form it and to keep the shape, it's just a case of cutting back. We do formative, really hard pruning we do over the middle of the winter, obviously when it's not freezing, but then general shaping of the clouds, we tend to do that anytime from June through to September, just to give it its formation to the size of the heads. And then any time of year really, if you've got any tiny little dead shoots that I'll have rubbed off as through the growing season, I'm going to take these nibs, any of these little nibs that have died back where I've rubbed the shoots out, and there's actually a new shoot coming there. So when they're young, you can actually just rub them off with your finger. Anything that forms that you don't want it to, basically just working up the stem. And again, tiny little nub, I'll just take that back. But again, what that's doing, and I actually want to take that one off there and there. There's a little bit more there that I want to do. So, but that just gives us a cleaner shape. As I say, when they're small enough, new buds, you can actually just rub them off, which is very, very simple. But also it's quite therapeutic working on a shape. And the nice thing is there's no right or wrong. Have a go, buy a young tree, put it in your garden, and if you decide you want to do a bit of shaping and a bit of topiary, then very, very simple to do. Main cutting you do in the summer, but any sort of dead diseased tips or branches, cut off just above a bud as you see them. So all I'm doing there is taking off some dead shoots from the last time where it's been trimmed back. So every week as we go through the autumn winter period and we're starting to get into lifting, which will be normally towards the end of November, we'll update you and you'll be able to see what we're doing, what we're planting, what we're moving going forward, and how things are developing. Thank you very much for joining us again this week. Hope you like what we're doing. If you've got any comments or any questions or want to ask anything, then please feel free and leave them in the comments and we'll come back to you. Thank you very much. Just behind the Sweet Joe Pie, just in the willow, one of the many robins that end up following us around the site. Sometimes life is very, very busy and it's nice sometimes just to stop and listen, particularly when you're immersed in nature like this, in amongst the trees and the birds and the river beyond. You just can't beat it.